Hi everyone, I'm Helen, and it's been a little over 3 months since I burned out really badly and had to acknowledge that I'd failed in my most important relationship. And it failed for all the usual reasons. I didn't feed the relationship, I didn't nurture it, I didn't prioritize it. I neglected to do the things that would make it better. I didn't commit, I was impatient. I made unreasonable demands and I was completely unforgiving when those demands could not be met. I was happy and I took it for granted and enjoyed it when things were going well, and I catastrophized when they didn't go well. And I acted really poorly to try and repair the situation. I was untruthful and untrue to myself, and I communicated very badly. I didn't properly ask what was wrong, and I didn't properly listen for the answers in an accepting, non-judgmental fashion. And I can't even blame somebody else for not holding up their end of things, because I'm talking about my relationship with myself. The most important, most intimate, incredible relationship that I can ever have. I am literally stuck with myself until death do me part. And I have to get it right with myself, because if I can't do that, it affects everything else in my life, because how I relate to myself affects how I relate to everything else. Work and work colleagues, family, friends, partners, the interests and passions, the things that make me so happy. I either don't engage in these relationships fully and in a healthy manner, or I use them as a distraction from the one thing that I really need to work on, me. And it works the other way as well. When I was exhausted and in a really bad space last year, I felt like I couldn't give my patients or my students 100%, and I couldn't go that extra mile because I barely had enough in me to do the bare minimum. This obviously had a massive impact on my pride and my esteem in my work, and therefore my enjoyment, and it obviously did nothing to uplift my enthusiasm, my spirit, and my enjoyment in my work, or my opinion of myself. And it made the things in work about which I was unhappy dramatically more upsetting. I think this also doesn't help you find more energy and happiness in your work. And exhaustion is a real thing, and having a good relationship with yourself isn't suddenly going to stop you feeling tired, but it really helps with so many other things, like finding perspective. I'm always amazed and inspired by these people who are really good at relationships. I'm also super jealous. You see them, they have these incredibly close and rewarding and perfect ideal relationships with their parents and siblings, their partners and themselves. And it really does just seem to come naturally to them. And I know that we never really know what's going on in somebody else's relationship, especially the one that they have with themselves. I'm also pretty certain that not everybody struggles and agonizes over it ad infinitum the way I sometimes feel like I do. I think some of us just have it easier and some don't, like athletics or sports. Some people are just naturally really good at it. A lot of people can be good at it, but they have to work at it. And I think there are those of us who will just always struggle a little bit more. It's a really vulnerable situation in which to find yourself, where you struggle to value and place trust in yourself and love yourself enough to accept admiration and love from others without needing and depending on that affirmation and reassurance. I had this text conversation with a couple of sisters last year, which left me crying for days afterwards. I just had this really sad work day, and we all know about that. And I just wanted a little bit of love and comfort. Instead, I was left feeling like the most unloved, unlovable, worthless person in the world. My logical brain knows that this is not true. I'm one of the most blessed people I know. I have family and friends on different continents, and I know that they all love me and they really want me to be happy. So I think if I'd had a good relationship with myself, I would have rolled my eyes and mentally told my sisters to suck eggs. Instead, I let these silly words of a self-absorbed, hypocritical chick who lives on the opposite side of the southern hemisphere wreck me to my soul. Now, obviously, that's a really bad standard operating procedure, and I need to change it, and I need to prioritize reviewing that. But I'm a prize procrastinator, especially when it comes to my self-relationship. Wasn't me. And I'm really great at avoiding the issue. I like to pack all my crazy and issues and neuroses in this nice big wooden box, and I padlock it and I put that key somewhere safe so I'm guaranteed never to find it again. Problem is that damn padlock just breaks open and the lid pops open, probably because the chest is packed a bit too full, and it makes a massive mess as everything spills everywhere. And that's what I was last year, a mess. And I was very sad, obviously, and also really disappointed in myself because I've been here before. 15 years ago, I did the whole taking little white pills and seeing a lovely lady, and she helped me to address my lack of self-esteem and my lack of self-confidence and my ability to cope in stressful situations. And it was great. I stopped wanting to use my dissection kit on myself. I learned some social skills and I got a lot happier. So yay, job done, tick that one off and off we go. Suffered the odd little dip, but just carried on, and I never stopped to mindfully and conscientiously ask myself, have I really fixed my relationship with myself? And if I have, does that mean I don't need to work on it anymore? Spoiler alert, the answer is no. Damn. And end of last year, I spent half an hour crying on the couch one morning because I couldn't find my car keys and I couldn't get to work. And then I found my car keys, and I spent another 10 minutes crying because now I did have to go to work. And that's when I recognized I have a problem with my relationship with myself and I need to work on it. And I need to work on it now. And I need some help. So I'm a great fan of couples counseling. Myself and I, we see this lovely lady. She's helping me to work on a few things. How am I doing? Well, I have been about as lousy at doing the exercises that my psychologist gives me as I have been about doing the exercises that my physio gives me, which is really embarrassing to admit. But I have had many years of not prioritizing my relationship, and new habits come hard. And really recently I had to recognize that I was not forming new habits very well. Just 2 weeks ago, I had a review with my doctor. We talked about my progress, and she suggested that I probably needed to see my psychologist a bit more often. And I explained, well, the reason I'm not seeing her more often, she's absolutely worth every penny, but she is expensive, and I like to put money aside every month that goes into this travel fund. Oh my God, listen to myself. I'm in the middle of composing this talk. I'm prioritizing your relationship with yourself, and I'm not doing it. And I can use every excuse about travel, and it is an excuse. I love it. So exciting. You learn so much about yourself, you learn so much about others, and it makes me so happy right now. And it doesn't fix me for later. And I really didn't like to admit that myself, but travel is just one of my many ways of distracting me from facing myself. So I'm obviously no psychologist, but I've had a few thoughts on this journey of mine, and I thought some of them might be interesting. Firstly, a lot of the relationship advice that you can find on the internet for couples actually applies really well to self-relationships. For example, they recommend to be around people who support you in building your relationship and not breaking it down, which is great. I really recommend reading some of that stuff. I would add to this, don't use these people to define your relationship and yourself. You still need to work on yourself from within yourself and not via somebody else. Following on from that, I think it's okay to sometimes just take a break from some people, especially the ones who really bring out that vulnerability and weakness in your relationship with yourself. That can be a bit hard sometimes because maybe you live with them or you're related to them. And taking a break doesn't necessarily mean not speaking to them. Sometimes it does. But maybe just not opening up that inner self of yours to them for a while, just until you've bonded a bit closer to yourself. And then you can think about vulnerability in front of these people. Another thing is, depression is a really difficult thing for people who have not experienced it or professionally trained in it to understand. It's like insomnia. You cannot fathom it if you're the kind of person who drops off to sleep in 10 breaths. And I think there are many different ways of learning to adjust to depression and maybe overcome it. And you definitely need to be supported by the right sort of people. But sometimes the most loving people in your life who so badly want to help you and try to fix you can't help you in that way because they know what works for them and they're not you. And finally, you have to prioritize your relationship with yourself. Nobody charming is coming on a white horse to rescue you from that tower. You need to tame that dragon and fly it yourself. So face the scary creature. Learn to communicate with it. Become friends. Learn to love and trust one another. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy flight. I'm pretty sure there'll be some air turbulence and some thrilling aerial acrobatics. This is definitely the most selfless and important thing that you can do in your life. And you and yourself are totally worth the best and most wonderful relationship possible. And it is worth saving.